So I'm Hope McIntyre with the Department of Theatre and Film.
And I'm Carolyn Schroeder, a student in the department.
And research assistant on this particular project. So Responsible Practices for Theatre was a project that allowed us to integrate accessibility and environmental stewardship into the process of a production that we do, which is aligned with many of our courses in the department, from our design, production courses, acting courses. So we wanted to integrate these concepts, and some of what that involved was
the collaboration of students in 7 courses.
We also had the collaboration of 7 different instructors and 3 staff members to make this happen.
Hiring of a student assistant.
A research assistant yourself.
Research assistant, yeah.
And then contracting of 2 consultants.
Tracking of data.
The compiling of resources.
The outreach to multiple stakeholder communities.
And it culminated in 5 sold-out performances of the production of Forward, and we offered ASL, audio description, and our department's first sensory-friendly performance. In terms of the scope of it, over the year there was many activities that were folded into this project, and part of that, to start us off, was the need for consultation. So we hired 2 main consultants, and then also the playwright who specializes in environmental and echo-based theater also participated. So our first activity was a student-wide, what we call real thing lecture, where we bring in guest artists to talk to our students about what it's really like working in the industry. And we had Jess Watkin, who's a disability dramaturg and access consultant out of Toronto, who just did her graduate studies in this field, speak to the entire department. So they all had a foundation in this knowledge. And then from there, Chantal, Jess, and Dana Leitold, who worked with Green Kids Theatre, came in and spoke to all of the students that were working on the show. So we brought together the acting course, the design course, the production courses for joint guest lectures and review of guidelines and discussion of how we were going to implement things with this particular project.
Yeah, and I came on board early in the fall last summer. The first main duty or main job I did was creating a list of initial resources with that was already existing, that was out in the industries internationally. We then, working with Dana, were able to have access to her sustainability guide with just practical knowledge on how to integrate sustainable practices into making theater, into running theater. One of the main documents I created for our process on working on Forward was a material and resource tracking document that really went through all the different departments, whether it was costumes, set, design. I'm just going to highlight those 2, where we really tracked item by item what it is, where we got it from, what it is made of, where it's coming from, where it's going to go. If we had to purchase it, how far was the commute? Was it bought online? Was it sourced locally? Which is really a really important foundation. Just even have an idea of like where materials go in the production life cycle and what happens after. Another project that I took on was creating building access guide. One was a written one that helps folks familiarize themselves with getting to the building, especially if they have never been here, especially the Asper Center, having the entrance kind of in between the 2 streets. It's often confusing where folks are like, I don't know where to come. So there's a written document. And then on the next slide, we also have a video that I created that we will show you a little excerpt of.
Welcome to the University of Winnipeg Asper Center for Theatre and Film. We are excited to have you join us for one of our performances. With this short video, we want to introduce you to some key elements inside and outside the building. The Asper Center for Theatre and Film is accessible via Balmoral and Colony Street. If you approach the Asper Center for Theatre and Film via Colony Street, you will find a small walkway between the Asper Center for Theatre and Film and the ramp of the Rice Parkade.
It's about a 5.5-minute video, so it's on YouTube. We encourage you all to have a look, and it's a really useful tool that we're now going to be able to use for all of our upcoming productions. So that we filmed it in the winter, or Carolyn filmed it in the winter, so that's the worst time. But it will apply for all of our productions. It also covers like where the accessible washrooms are. It covers how to behave in the theater if you've never been before. So all of those things are great. And then the other piece we did was an ASL video to promote the show. So Joanna Hawkins, who's a fabulous mime performer in 100 Decibels, if you've never heard of their work, they do deaf mime work, which is beautiful, did this promo video for you. So we'll just show a few seconds of that as well. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and that's also on YouTube, so folks can watch that. And so much of this was us learning how we communicate with a different audience base and how we integrate them into the shows that we are doing in the long term in the department.
Yeah, so another role I took on was really sharing the work we've been doing all year with the audiences who came and saw the show. So we created a lobby display that picked up on, introduced the sustainability work we had integrated, as well as the design work. All our designers really went into the community and sourced most of the costumes either on site or in partnership with Prairie Theatre Exchange just over at Portage Place. We also just included some general research on why this work is so important, what sustainability means, and what concerns are out there that we are bringing awareness to. We integrated. We're having a bunch of photos that are reflective of the project, of the show. You see that we have a bunch of plastic that is really framing the stage. The focus on the play on forward is the relationship to eyes, and plastic is such a big part of that is impacting nature, that is impacting the ecosystem, the health of it all. And so using plastic that was sourced again in the community, that within a few weeks the university collected for us, that folks brought from home because it was just after Christmas, so we all had all these plastic wrappers. Some of the students who have part-time jobs brought in plastic from their works and really by the bag. So all of this plastic was collected, got a second life, and just showed the importance of reusing materials. Yeah.
Yeah, and made us all realize how much plastic we are gathering, which was a huge wake-up call. And it took on a third life because this plastic was then used in the next show.
That's true, yeah.
They shredded it and used it as snow for White Girls in Moccasins. So yeah, it's just thinking critically about how we were using everything. This wasn't originally part of our project, but we were approached by the Center for Research and Cultural Studies, who happened to also be doing a series on climate justice, and they asked us if we wanted to be involved with that, which is a fabulous additional partnership. So we did a talk back after a performance where the cast, the designers, Carolyn, our other consultants, participated along with the Cricks folks. And what was most useful about that for me was hearing the students themselves talk about what they've learned about the climate and about their practices just by having worked on this production together. So that was a real benefit for us. We also tried to incorporate this into every part of the process. So I always create, with the cast, we create a collective land acknowledgement. And so it was important to them that the land acknowledgement be specific to this show and to the work we'd already done. So this particular quote that they brought had been going around on social media, and they felt it really spoke to what we were doing, and it became the kind of starting point for our land acknowledgement. So colonialism didn't just steal land, it rewrote the story of nature. It taught us to see the earth as something to dominate, not something to belong to. The fight for decolonization is the fight to unlearn this lie and rebuild our relationship with the planet. Which summarized a lot of what we were trying to do with this show. A play that was about Arctic exploration and how man tries to dominate the natural world, and us trying to do the show in a responsible manner was really, really important.
Yeah, and from a student perspective, from the research assistant perspective, there's some key takeaways that I wanted to include and present. The first one being that this work takes time. It takes time to build relationships, especially with communities such as the deaf community, and it takes time to implement change. Collaboration is key. We could not have borrowed the amount of costumes we were able to borrow if it wasn't for collaboration and working across the theater community within Winnipeg. The learning that I was able to get out of working on this project has left me with more awareness for accessibility and sustainability practices and how we see them exist in the industry across the city. It has informed my practice. I see much more importance in addressing accessibility and sustainability in everything I do, and it's definitely impacting my decision-making progress and where I want to continue with grad school. Another impact or another key takeaway is the relocation of resources. Having a research assistant, I think, really showed, being able to do this, that doing this work isn't cheaper. It doesn't make productions more affordable. However, relocating the money, so the money cannot necessarily be saved as more labor cost is added. However, much more can be gained if we were able to relocate funds and investing in accessibility and sustainability practices in this way. Definitely also learned about the importance of asking for help, that there are already professionals and specialists doing this work out and across the country, and how working with them helped not only create a network of supporters, but also the experience and breadth of knowledge is extremely helpful when starting out and when continuing this work. And as a final note, and that's something every collaborator and every consultant we asked said, it is better to try and make mistakes than not trying at all, because we do want to see an impact, and we're trying to advocate for something that hasn't been advocated before in this sense.
Absolutely, and I think that's something a lot of the students involved shared. They were afraid to do this work because they were afraid of doing it wrong, but it's better to do it and learn than not. So in terms of our next steps or moving forward, which was always a joke for us because forward is the name of the play we were working on. So we need to continue this work is what everyone said at the end. And in order to do that, it means budgeting for ongoing accessibility. So yes, we, I think, only bought about 10% of items for set, costumes, and props versus some years we're buying 80%. So we saved money there. We saved money because of the reuse. But the cost of accessibility is high and needs to be high. So to hire ASL interpreters costs quite a bit of funding, as well as the consultants and all the other pieces and the labor that Carolyn put in, which was incredible. So we need to budget for that from the start. We need to keep building relationships. So we had some turnout, not a high turnout from the accessibility community, because it's the first time we've done it. You can't expect a community to come the first time you've reached out to them. So we need to build that relationship in an ongoing manner, not just when we want them to come to something, but we need to be part of a dialogue that keeps going. And then finally, integrating sustainability practices has to happen from the beginning. So we chose a play that was about the environment. And then the student designers, my first meeting with them as a director, I said, we're doing this in a sustainable fashion. It needs to be designed from the beginning to do that. It's not something you can add in on the end. So these are things we hope to integrate, keep building on. There were some things we weren't able to do that we want to do in the future, like tracking CO2 was a big thing that would have taken a lot more time to do. But now we have resources that we can continue to build on and hopefully use. And then I always like to, in every presentation I do, at some point put a kitten in, because we all need more joy. So if anyone has any questions afterwards, we have time for some now, but you can feel free to reach out for me if you'd like any of these resources that we've created. We have guidebooks, we have stuff. It's theater focused, but I think it crosses over if anyone would like to have access to them. Thank you.
Thank you.